day's just getting started, but yours has been going on. How's your day been so far?
Oh, not too bad. Currently
Yeah.
battling a bit of a flu at the moment. So it's been at home recovering.
Oh, really? Okay, man.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll try not to keep you too long then, because
Oh, no, I'm good.
no, cool. Okay. Well, 2020 coming to a close. You satisfied with the year Starcrazy's had overall?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Coming out of the COVID lockdowns, like we haven't really been able to tour up until just recently. So this year was the first year we got to travel around Australia or the east coast of Australia. Released, recorded a new EP which will be coming out soon. We've had a few singles come out of that this year. Yeah, it's been exciting, been a busy year.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been good.
crazy, really, because you
Yeah.
barely got started before the world basically shut down.
Oh, quite literally. I think we played our first show within a couple of weeks before the first lockdown, and then yeah, so just stuck inside Sydney for about a year and a half before we could go anywhere else.
But being out and about the last couple of months, this year as well, the release of the singles and so on, how's the reaction been? Have you found people have been coming your way?
Oh, definitely. I think with each one has been the audience has sort of grown more and more. We've had our three singles come out this year. Most recent one being Hysterical has just come out, and yeah, that's been played on the radio all over the world. So Alice Cooper's radio station shared it. Classic Rock Magazine shared the video recently as a one of the top 10 songs of the week. So yeah, the reception's been great. Just
Okay,
getting
so
better and better. Yeah.
a nice little bit of buzz around things at the moment, particularly with that level of coverage, particularly getting out worldwide, because of course Australia's scene
Yeah.
is one thing, the world scene is another.
Yeah.
The considering so 2019, you kind of get started, the idea is to get the train rolling and then everything stops. Did your early drive, the passion, the excitement and interest that you had to push Starcrazy forward, did that take a hit considering we went into such unknown? And admittedly, the early days we didn't really know how long things were going to last, particularly country by country. But what was the early drive to keep pushing on?
Um, well, all we could do was just write. We're a new band, so we could still rehearse together at the time, luckily. So we just got together and wrote and recorded our first EP, Played for Suckers. We recorded around that time, maybe if I can remember correctly, about halfway through 2021. So I just sort of prepared towards that, or 2020 even. And yeah, anytime we were allowed to get out, we'd play a Sydney show, usually do a seated, like half, even quarter capacity audience. And yeah, just did what we could until we were allowed to do more. But yeah, definitely kept busy. Just anything we could do to be productive, writing and recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trying to make the best of the time, right? Do you think overall
Yeah.
you used the time well, taking advantage of that stop effectively?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. We just jumped straight into it. Yeah, recorded our first EP very soon after starting the band. So everything was sort of fresh and new for us. But
Those
yeah,
seated gigs,
good.
those seated gigs, man. We in the UK we briefly experimented with that,
Yeah,
but it fell apart so quickly
I
within.
know. Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
Oh, it's awkward. It was, they definitely, yeah, they enjoyed us, but it was, everyone just sort of seated in their audience, sitting still, no dancing or anything. The song had finished, it'd just be a clap, and then
Yeah.
silence again. All right, next song, and then just go next one. No, like reciprocation of the crowd reacting and then us reacting through that. So definitely a very still sort of audience. It's hard for us to feed off that in a way, but
It's an
yeah,
let's hope that's a once in a lifetime experience that you'll be able to look back on and go, wow, we did do that.
yeah,
So we're a few months away from the release of the new EP, Another Day, Another Squatter. Talk to
yes.
me about your vision for this specific record and what it looked like. Did you have a clear and defined plan when you started out?
Um, yeah, it's definitely like a natural progression from our first one. We pretty much started writing this one immediately after recording the first one. So some of these songs have been around almost as long as those have, but some we wrote a bit closer towards recording time. Definitely us going in a more sort of harder, heavier sort of direction than the first one, while still keeping the sort of glammy pop power pop sort of influence as well. But it's definitely, yeah, just us showing different colors to the band and a new level of songwriting and production and everything. I think it's just a good step up for us. I'm excited for it to come out.
You feel it was a natural progression to where you started off
Yeah.
with experimentation and, dare I say, still trying to find out exactly what Starcrazy is, or are you very clear at what you want to do?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a more sort of realized sound for us. Sort of the first EP we sort of wrote, we were a very new band, so it's still sort of experimenting a lot quite around then. But over the past couple of years, we've sort of honed in on our own sound and sort of grown a bit more in other directions. And yeah,
Well, what things can you think of that may have helped shape what the record became, be it events or situations, for good or for ill?
yeah. I don't know. We've always sort of written together. It sort of came natural. I'm not sure any exact event that would inspire it, but yeah,
Do you feel like it just can't? It do you feel as though it flowed quite naturally? Like
yeah,
there's no specific event or thing that may have pushed it in a direction, but as a group of songwriters working together, did you notice a significant difference between how you worked together on this record compared to the first?
yeah. I think we're just more prepared, more experienced. Um, I think coming to this recording, we had a bit more time to just sort of work on it. Because over the first one, we sort of worked to the very last minute of the
Mm.
last day, got it all done, sounded great. But this one, we gave ourselves an extra day, but also came in just being a lot more rehearsed, a lot tighter, and just more familiar with the songs as we went in.
Do you think it would exist as it does? Do you think even having all that time and the what you've just described there, the extra experience and stuff, do you think that would exist if the last few years hadn't happened? If you had been forced to be out on the road and touring Australia?
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to say. I
Mm.
think touring more than anything is what helps a band sort of find their feet and become a lot tighter and more locked in as a unit. So that's something we didn't really get to experience a lot of with this band, unfortunately, up until recently.
Yeah, it's such an important aspect. I mean, not just what you described, but as well, but the, a little bit of money here and there would help
Oh yeah,
out.
yeah,
What
yeah.
for you, what's been some of the more challenging aspects of putting this new EP together? From what you describe, it sounds like it flowed and was very, very an okay experience. Was there anything that was particularly challenging?
Um, Not sure. It's been good. Definitely putting it together was no problems. Just getting out there, like we've released a couple of singles up at each one is sort of getting in front of a decent audience, which is sort of building up towards. And it has been working in our favor, definitely the more recent ones. But I think the toughest ones is just going interstate for the first time and sometimes traveling all that way, spending a lot of money on petrol and that just to get there and play to a few people. And I think a first time playing in some places are not always as exciting as they are, but then we go back and the crowd gets bigger and bigger each time.
Are you
I think,
noticing perhaps based out of live shows coming back that there's a significant hunger now for not just your music but music in general within the scene?
oh, for sure, yeah. I think the crowds have been a lot more hungry. Have been not having any live music for a long time, much like ourselves, not being able to play for a long time. We're all, as soon as we could, we were just very excited to get out there and play as much as we could.
Yeah, let's hope it sticks because it's a similar
Yeah,
thing in the UK where initially coming out of the closure of venues and things like that, the shows that may not have been as packed out were packed out, and you kind of fingers crossed that that sticks, and the apathy that sometimes slips
yeah,
in doesn't come back.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Likewise, though, on the other aspect of the EP recording process and the writing process and so on, what about some of the more enjoyable aspects that you found? Is there anything that jumps to mind that you thought you really, really found you enjoyed, or maybe even you learnt about yourself?
Um, I think just us getting together and like we recorded up the coast from where we live in
Mhm.
Australia, so it's a nice little getaway for the four of us, all staying in the same house. So it was a good little bonding experience, and then the recording itself is we got to experiment with a lot of different ideas and that. Our producer Mo Mayhem, who recorded both our first and second EPs. He's a guitarist himself, so he brought like a whole arsenal of guitars and amps and that for me to play with.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and he'd have it in his head, like, oh, this song needs like one of these. He'd pull out like a 12 string, or he'd pull out like, yeah, this song needs a Fender, or this like, needs a big chunky Les Paul sound. So yeah, especially on at least for me with the guitars, it's definitely a lot of experimenting. Had a lot of fun with.
And you were quite comfortable to take that advice and suggestions.
Oh yeah, yeah. We definitely trust his ideas and opinions, and likewise, he sort of connects with a lot of our influences as well, and understands what we're trying to work towards. He's really good collaborative effort working with him.
Talking of which, then, sort of from an outside perspective, and I guess maybe someone that may not be a bigger fan, say, of rock and hard rock and stuff like that, your style of music is commonly associated with less serious themes and subjects. Yet that is not the case with this EP. Now, I have to ask you, how challenging is it for you to get the balance of what is good time retro rock in a nutshell, that you can move and enjoy, but also has subjects that people can relate to?
Yeah, I think a lot of our lyrics are written by Marcus, the singer. He definitely tries to definitely work on a more fun style of music. We try not to be too serious with lyrics and that, And yeah, other things he just writes just about his own personal experience or anything that he just goes through or thinks about, or not always about partying or whatever or having fun, but definitely yeah.
Yep. No, I completely understand. I asked that question because, doing some research and listening to the record this morning and getting an idea of that, reading some of the lyrical content, and it's such a fascinating juxtaposition between, as I said, music that I almost want to get up and dance with at 7 a.m. here to, oh, wow, there's something being spoken and said here. And that's incredible. It's an incredible balance to get. I'd imagine when you yourself read some of the lyrical content, you must have been quite like wowed by what you were reading.
Oh, of course. Yeah, he definitely has a good imaginative mind in him.
How about you yourself, though, specifically for what how about what you specifically bring to the band? Where do your influences come from?
My influences, definitely like grew up on the 70s hard rock and then the 80s metal and that when I was a teenager, and big fan of all like even stuff like Jane's Addiction and Mother Love Bone, Living Colour, stuff like that. As well as definitely Eddie Van Halen, Ace Frehley,
Awesome.
Joe Perry from Aerosmith and all that. Johnny Ramone, definitely.
Basically a collection of the greatest guitarists in the world.
Exactly. I like them all. Yeah.
I mean, of course, Australia as well, like, is synonymous with some of the biggest hard rock bands in the entire world.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But that also, it's always proven to be a bit of a challenge, that to get rock outside of Australia, it only seems to account for a handful of bands, and we're talking bands from decades ago as well. So for you, what's the biggest challenge you think you face, or Starcrazy faces, with getting your music beyond the borders of Australia?
Money.
Yes.
I think we'd all love to relocate to Europe or America or go on tour, but especially even just touring around the country at the moment is just very difficult financially.
Yep.
Cost of petrol, cost of traveling, everything is just skyrocketing. I think a lot of great Australian bands find success by going overseas, so it's definitely a dream for us to do. There's only so much we can milk out of the music scene in Australia.
Yeah, because of course, eventually diminishing returns, you continue to return to the same cities and the same locations and stuff, it'll eventually have diminishing returns. But of course, long term, of course, the plan is further afield. It's not impossible, as you say, it's a major aspect of it. So people, buy your records and buy your merch and help Starcrazy get over to freaking Europe or America.
Yeah. I would love to.
Alongside that, I mean, that's one aspect of being in a band. Of course, there's a huge other aspect that's online these days, maybe even more important following COVID and the pandemic period, because of how it was used. Do you think you guys as a group have got a good handle on the requirements of what's needed to push yourself online? And I'm talking about the really boring and sometimes horrible crap of being on social media and having to open up your life, basically.
Yeah. I think we have a pretty healthy sort of social media presence, at least on the band one and that. Yeah, we post as much as we can. I don't know.
Do you enjoy it though?
Oh, in ways. The band stuff, like, we always keep busy. The personal account, I don't really post a lot besides my band. I think you kind of need to keep, as a band, you need to sort of keep your presence active to keep people engaged and grow your audience more and more. So it's kind of a necessary job, unfortunately.
It's that, isn't it? It is a necessary evil, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Considering you talked as well about the single releases and the reactions you've noticed to them and so on, are you the type of person who stats watches? Do you find yourself checking Spotify numbers, YouTube comments, and stuff like that?
Yeah. It's hard not to. Like, it's not a bad thing. As I said, like with every release, it's sort of gotten bigger and bigger. And yeah, I definitely keep track of all that.
Are you able to disconnect yourself from the oh my god, this video hasn't currently done as well as the previous video has, or we haven't got as many comments or likes or shares on this one? Are you able to kind of balance that out in your head?
Yeah. I don't really sleep over it or anything, but
Good.
it's just something I'm interested in. If no one watches it, then whatever.
Yeah, it's one of those things I always worry, and talk to many bands around the world, and I think, oh god, that can become quite an obsessive. Stats watching can become such an obsessive scene, particularly with ever-changing algorithms can punish an artist or a band so quickly that it's always nice to hear that it's not something that you pay attention. It's something you pay attention to, but it's not something you, as you say, lose sleep over.
Yeah.
What are the plans then, aside from the build to the EP release, because we are talking March, so you have a few more months to push and push and push this. What other plans do you have in place for 2023 at the moment that you can talk about?
We're playing a show in January called Glam Fest, which is so there's a bunch of like international bands. I think the headliners is like Faster Pussycat, Wednesday 13, Enough's Enough. A lot of those bands. So we got on the bill for that for Sydney. So that's an exciting one for us in January. And EP release in March with a East Coast tour around then. After that, we're just constantly writing and working towards new material in between shows and that. So we'll just keep playing, keep writing. Maybe by the end of the year, we might do another recording, possibly a full-length album. I just want to get out there as much as we can. Definitely want to tour a bit more.
Keep it busy. That is literally what we want to hear.
That's all we can do.
Yeah.
All we haven't been able to do the whole time we've been a band. So now we're just enjoying it as much as we can.
It's fantastic to hear. I'm really pleased that said that you have such plans in place, because you say for nothing for so long, particularly for a band that literally came to life or started in 2019. The trains roll and get going. But what's a realistic goal that you would like to achieve in 2023?
Realistic goal. I'd like to get some more international supports, possibly if we could travel internationally. That'd be a good goal to have. Get on some festivals maybe in Australia. Those are some sort of short-term goals, I guess.
That's exactly it, though, and
Obviously.
there's nothing to stop it, considering, as you say, live music is back in the festival scene, particularly the reset of the festival scene, because we had the same thing in the UK, where festivals were having the hangover of previously booked bands, so nobody was getting on the new bills. Now we hit 2023, it feels like things are open again.
Yeah, for sure. More opportunities opening up.
Yeah, as you know, in the UK, we got a ton of festivals as well, and plenty that Starcrazy would fit beautifully.
Oh, I'd love to, yeah. I always see those posters from the other side of the world and wish I could be there.
Oh, well, finally, Odin, considering it's this time of year, as you can tell by my backdrop as well, it's Christmas, and I've got to ask you then, what does a Starcrazy Christmas look like?
Good time. Yeah. Christmas time's when we have our break, so we're going up the coast, taking a break from gigging and that. But I think Marcus and myself will be doing like an acoustic gig up the coast. Just a bit of fun.
Lovely.
Just doing a few covers and maybe some Starcrazy songs, and And yeah, other than that, just taking it easy until end of January.
We've got that. You've got that festival to look forward to in January. The EP released
Yeah.
in March. Another date, another squalor. It's an excellent EP. I can't wait for people to hear it, and I hope to see. Fingers crossed, 2023 blows up, and then you end up over our way sooner rather than you might think. Odin, thank you for taking the time to do this. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?